Well, would you look at that? This is a special edition of the Nightcap with yours truly and, most importantly, your buddy, Jared Yamamoto. This is my new talk show, typically heard Saturdays from 11 to midnight on WSB Radio. And that's why I say typically, ladies and gentlemen, because today, yes, today, if you are watching live on my various social platforms, I am doing the Nightcap from my non-typical studio. I do solo moto my video series out of this studio. And you might be wondering, well, why, Jared? Why are you doing a podcast-only show this week? Well, my home station, 95.5 WSB, is the home of the Georgia Bulldogs. And Georgia's got a huge game against the Alabama Crimson Tide tomorrow night at 7:30, which is why I get to hang out with all of you beautiful people today. So if you're watching on my streams for the first time, this is my Nightcap, and we have so much to talk about. And feel free to interact with me live throughout the show. And for those listening back as a podcast, this is only going to be one segment today. So I'm not going to do a bunch of different segments because why break it up? The nice thing about doing a podcast-only format or a video podcast format is that I don't need to take the commercial breaks. So if there is one advantage to not being on the radio this weekend, it's this. I can just go straight through with everything going on. So there is a ton to talk about, and I feel like I've got to start today with this because I have called this for a long time, and I really just hate self-checkout altogether. When I go to the grocery store and I am given the choice of the 4 or 5 to 6 different self-checkout lines, or I'm given the choice to go to a normal cashier, I'm going to go to the normal cashier every single time instead of going to the self-checkout line. I will check out with a normal human anytime over going to the self-checkout line. Why? Because I feel like it's just cold and it's heartless. And if I'm making this kind of effort to go to the store, then I would much rather just go and be able to converse with somebody and potentially get, I guess not turned on to something, but potentially like strike up a conversation or bring joy to somebody in their life. I try to crack some jokes sometimes while I'm in line. I get it. It's not an ideal job to be working the register at any kind of grocery store or any kind of industry. But if given the choice, I would much rather try to brighten somebody's day and talk to them than not talk to them. And now I have the research. This is a new study that came from Talker Research and Spreely, and it has found that 1 in 4 companies lose more than $1 million annually at self-checkout. Again, $1 million annually. And it's because people often skirt the system. You have the one person that is attempting to monitor what's going on at the very back of it, or at the very, when you wrap up self-checkout and you're walking out the door, there's one person that's wrapping it up. And you're like, okay, like that person, do they really know what's going on? And my whole thing is, no, they don't know what's going on. They don't know what people are putting in their bag and what they're not putting in their bag. It's ridiculous if you ask me. And I feel bad for that person to have to monitor all these different lanes. The idea behind self-checkout when it first started was the thinking that, hey, we can save money on baggers, we can save money on cashiers, and if somebody takes a few things, it doesn't matter because we will have saved it in upfront worker costs. Well, now it's biting people in the ass now, and I kind of love it. I kind of love that people are now having to feel the pain of this because, I mean, again, like there's all this methodology that's put in the survey here talking about what happens. And the majority of it that you just need to know is that people find ways to skirt around paying for things. And we're all guilty of it. I know plenty of people that are like, well, I threw in some grapes or something, or I threw in, some gum or something like that, but I still paid for 95% of what I ordered while at the store. That still doesn't make you a good person when you do that, and it still doesn't make it justified for you to use the self-checkout. And I feel like in a lot of ways, people, the way the response is, like just looking in the comment section here, people are like, well, it just shows how bad and how far America's fallen because they're taking so many things. I'm like, no. This is a perfect example of corporate greed here is what it is. corporate greed where you thought you could get away with something and you thought that you could eliminate jobs and make things easier. But of course, people responded and they started stealing from you. That's what happened. And I hope at the end of the day that there are more and more workers that end up working at an actual grocery store, at Home Depot, at Lowe's, instead of having so many people or so many different self-checkout lines. It doesn't make any sense to do that when you're losing so much product. I mean, again, this survey here, this is just what they're reporting on here. $1 million annually. And it mentioned several of these companies, Home Depot being one of them, Kroger's getting hit very, very hard. Publix is even on the list as well. So, I mean, just several notable brands that you go to every single day are getting hurt by this. So I feel like the self-checkout test has been a proven failure at this point. It has failed, and it's time for us to get back to having normal cashiers working the register with the baggers and get people working. Like, it's not a bad job. I mean, it's certainly a good starter job. I worked as a bag boy for a long time, and would I have made a career out of it? No, but it certainly helped me converse with people, and I didn't love having to work. Who loves having to work? But it did teach me some valuable lessons. So I feel like this is a moment where typically, like, I'm very much a fiscal conservative, and I'm all for companies trying to make sure that they make as much money as possible. But I do feel like this is a failed experiment. And I have brought it up on my Nightcap multiple times how much I hate self-checkout. So for the self-checkout people, this survey, I feel like, proves me correct on this. All right, there is other news to get to today, which, by the way, again, I am saying today because of the Georgia-Alabama game tomorrow night on my home station, 95.5 WSB. My show is normally on from 11 to midnight on WSB, but because the game's at 7:30, I got pushed off. I got pushed off the airwaves, which I will happily take my time off the air tomorrow as long as Georgia wins. That's my call to Kirby Smart. Kirby, you better win. And if you're listening back to this as a podcast later, hopefully Kirby Smart and UGA ends up winning this game. All right, a couple other stories I wanted to get to today. I saw this one here. And it's just like, you just can never win. You just can't win. Because apparently being too thin may be riskier than carrying extra weight. This is another study here. This is a Danish study where they looked at the BMI of adults, and they determined that if your BMI isn't in the green zone, which is the green zone, I'm scrolling down here. Again, it's like your normal BMI would be like 18 to about 24.9, right around there, right? And everybody does BMI, but my whole thing is with BMI, and I'm not necessarily a health nut, but I do try to work out at least once per day. It's not like it's a lot. I'm calling going for a walk in the park a workout. I do think it's important to get outside for at least 30 to 45 minutes every single day, just because you need to be able to not only get the fresh air, but you need to get your butt moving. But when you look at BMI, everybody's so different. And where I push back against studies like this is, I remember for my height, I'm like right there at 6 foot. I'm like 5'11". If I have the right shoes on, I'm definitely 6 foot. And I remember there were times where like I gained a little bit of weight. I know a couple years ago I lost my mother, and so I gained a lot of weight when I lost her. And then I've since lost the weight, and am in a much healthier BMI than I was before. But I do feel like when you use the BMI index, body mass index, I do feel like they want it to be a one-size-fit-all kind of category, but in reality, everybody's bodies are different. The reality is that you shouldn't be too thin and you shouldn't be too fat. Like, you got to find that right balance for your body, and everybody's bodies, is that correct? Everybody's bodies are just very different. And once you find what works for you, which, by the way, if you're in your 30s and 40s, you should have found it by now. But if you haven't, I'm here to encourage you that you can. Once you find that happy balance, you'll know it. You'll know it. You'll start feeling better, and you'll start realizing, okay, this is where I need to be to make sure that I maintain a healthy lifestyle. And when people use BMI, I feel like it's just very blunt. It's like, well, if you're not in this index, then you're in the underweight index, or you're in the overweight, you're obese, you're extremely obese. And nobody wants to be underweight, and nobody wants to be extremely obese. You just have to be able to find exactly where that category is for you. And when you see these scare headlines like this, where apparently being too thin may be riskier than carrying that extra weight, I tend to, just kind of push back on stories like this and say, I don't know. I don't know necessarily if I believe in that or not. So my whole thing is find the right routine that works for you, eat healthy, but make sure that you also allow and give yourself some time where you can party and have a good time as well. Like, do the things that you like to do too. You got to find balance in all things, moderation in all things. I promise you, once you find that happy balance in your life, you will feel much, much better. I appreciate you guys all chiming in on the live stream too. I'll try to get to some of your commentary. I see people coming in on my Facebook page, YouTube, and on my Instagram over here, which I appreciated. Jack saying that I am the handsomest bag boy in all of Bag Boys. I appreciate that right there. Going back to the bag boy story, talking about first jobs, working at the grocery store. I do Solo Moto, which is kind of my video series. I do it every Tuesday at 2 on all my different socials. So for those that are watching my Nightcap now, this is kind of like what Solo Moto looks like. And of course, my Nightcap is typically on every Saturday from 11 to midnight. Now, a couple more stories I want to get to today. I saw that Major League Baseball, which it's so funny to me because I am a big baseball fan and I love my Braves. I'm a diehard Atlanta fan through and through. But it is amazing to me. The Braves have been eliminated basically for the past month. I mean, we were technically not eliminated. Don't come after me. We were technically not eliminated, but we were for basically the last month. And what's so difficult for me when you're eliminated is continuing to pay attention to the sport. So whether it's the Atlanta Hawks in my case, if they're eliminated, which they usually are in contention all the way to the very end of the season, looks like we finally have a promising outlook for next season. But the past couple of seasons, it's been like, okay, you're kind of like in the middle of the pack for the Atlanta Hawks. For the Braves, we've been really banged up for the past couple of years. So it hasn't been as exciting in the postseason as it was, say, back in 2021 or in 2023, when, in my opinion, we should have won it all again that year. But the big news that came out of Major League Baseball this week, and had I been in a market where people were paying more attention to baseball now, I probably would be talking about this more prevalently. But Major League Baseball is going to allow players to challenge balls and strikes starting in 2026. And in case you're unaware about this, there's a lot of things that have changed with baseball. Number one, the pitch clock has made the games a lot faster. I, for one, will tell you that I do not like the pitch clock. The games are way too fast, and for anybody that bitches and complains about baseball games taking too long, have you been to a football game lately? I love football. I love my Falcons. Believe me, I love my West Georgia Wolves. I love football. But man, those games are so long. Don't give it to me. Don't tell me that the games are too long. There are a couple of games that I went to this summer for the Braves that lasted basically 2 hours. And if I'm spending $70 for a ticket, $140 for 2 tickets, I don't think I'm getting my money's worth for $140. I'll be honest with you. So I actually am one of the few people that disagrees with the pitch clock. And I'm not necessarily an MLB purist. I understand what they're trying to do. They already have me as a fan. They're trying to get more and more fans to come to the games. But when you now introduce a video element to balls and strikes, I mean, what's the point of even having an umpire anymore? Just go on and, if you're going to go this direction, just go on and get rid of the umpires, have an electronic umpire, and just go that way, because I can't imagine how demoralizing it would be to be an umpire and have balls and strikes called against you. Have to have the call to New York where they could potentially change the call, change the outcome of the game, and take the human element completely out of the game. I'm just not a fan of this. I do not like this idea at all. And baseball's got to be careful, because the thing that the NFL has now that Major League Baseball doesn't have is that it doesn't matter who's playing. I mean, I was watching the Thursday night game last night. I was loving the comeback that the Cardinals almost pulled off against Sam Darnold's Seahawks. I was impressed with the comeback that they did, and for me to be interested in an Arizona Cardinals Seattle Seahawks game, I mean, that just shows you how much different the league is compared to what Major League Baseball. If you had the Seattle Mariners taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks, I would not be watching that at all. So baseball's got to be really careful. They seem to be going into an even darker place than I thought before. And this idea that you can now challenge balls and strikes, I am not a fan of that at all. All right, now let's get to something that I am a fan of. Spotify announced that they are going to label their AI music and filter spam, and they're going to go through and basically clean up some of the AI that's all over their platform. Which what I appreciate about Spotify doing this is it's very easy to make and create AI music now. Now, I have an ear for it. I feel like it's got like kind of like a tinny kind of sound when you hear an AI song. And there are some that don't sound bad, but there are some that I'm like, why in the world would you waste my time with this AI song? So I was I just get frustrated with it when you see and you're like, oh, there's some AI involved with it. And I do think that a lot of the top artists out there are certainly using AI algorithms. Even if it is them singing, I think they're using AI algorithms to try to play on audiences out there, which Spotify doesn't indicate what they're going to do about that, but certainly they're going to at least get some of the trash that's uploaded into their platform, and I'm sure Apple Music will follow along with this. But my whole thing is with AI music is that I just don't know how you can stop it, because if it continues to sound the way that it sounds now, there are plenty of people that are consuming it. I mean, there's that one band that I think it's called like Velvet Sunrise or something like that, and people love it. They eat it up, and they're very happy with the content they put out there. And if you are out there and you like the sound, part of me says not to put a law to say, if you like AI music, you shouldn't like it. If you follow me there, I don't want to be the kind of, the AI cop that says, well, because it's AI music and it wasn't created by humans, you therefore should not listen to it. I do appreciate the label that Spotify's putting on there, but my overall point is I think it's important to support humans and people creating their own music overall. But if you like something that's created through AI, don't kick yourself for liking something that's created through AI. It's okay. It's okay to like it, but just understand that it was not created by a real person, and you could be preventing an artist from getting some kind of money out there. That's the overall point that I'm trying to make. So I think that Spotify is doing the right thing by putting an AI label on things, getting rid of the slop that's out there, because there's some really bad AI content out there. But they're also, for those catchier ones that are out there, and you know that it's still AI, at least in my opinion, I can still tell what it is, then in my opinion, I think that they're going the right direction with this by at least just putting a label on it. A couple more stories I wanted to get to here. Number one, I saw that the Atlanta Housing Authority is partnering with Bird Scooters to offer residents half off on scooters and bike rides. Now, in Atlanta, there has been a lot of change recently. A lot of change. There's a lot of homelessness, and it's tough. It's really, really tough to see the amount of people just struggling and trying to. It appears to me that a lot of them are dealing with mental illness, but to see a lot of people just struggling, and you want to be able to help them. And I do think that through this program, it says that residents with Atlanta Housing will receive a 50% discount on Bird's e-scooters and e-bikes. And the idea is to get people to go to work. And I think in principle, it's a good idea. But the thing that concerns me is that you can ride these e-scooters and these e-bikes well into the night. And if you are out on any of these trails in any major city, not just Atlanta, and somebody comes up to you on an e-scooter or an e-bike, and you're on one of these trails, like, for example, the Beltline in Atlanta, then I could understand why people could feel super unsafe knowing that somebody's coming up on you on one of these bird scooters. I mean, these things fly. I know last weekend I was at the Shaky Knees Music Festival, and I took a bird scooter back home, and I mean, people were flying past me. I thought I was being responsible. I'm in my little bike lane. I'm like, okay, I'll go a little bit slower to make sure that I'm being responsible and not running other people off the road. But other people were just flying by me. So I think the idea behind it isn't a bad idea. You're trying to help people get to work, but I would maybe put a limitation on it because right now you can ride the scooters, I believe, until either 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. I would say if you are in this program and you are not working an overnight shift, my solution would be that there is a curfew for those type of users in order to get that discount from midnight until 6 a.m. Again, that window, you just don't allow people to do it because, in my opinion, people that are going to be on those scooters are probably going to be up to no good during those times. And we want people to be feeling as safe as possible while walking on the streets, whether it's in Atlanta, Houston, or any of these cities, because I'm sure other cities are going to follow along with programs like this. And I do appreciate the city trying to find a solution to solve the homeless problem that is in so many American cities out there. I mean, there's major issues out there, and nobody just seems to be addressing it at all. All right, let me try to get to some of your comments here because I see people watching me live. Again, special edition of the Nightcap with Jared Yamamoto. I would normally be live tomorrow night from 11 to midnight on WSB Radio, but because of the Georgia Bulldogs Alabama game, I got booted. But my deal with Kirby Smart is Kirby Smart and the Dogs better take care of the Crimson Tide tomorrow for me to get booted off the air. But for those that are watching me live, this is kind of what I do on my show. I just kind of riff about things that are going on in the news cycle, and I interact with you, whether it's your open mics or whether it's people that are commenting on my various socials over here. So I see people on my Instagram hating on the Falcons over here. Hey, listen, we just found out that Jaden Daniels, the quarterback for the Commanders, and Terry McLaurin is not going to be one of the best receivers for the Commanders, is not going to be starting on Sunday for the Falcons. So if the Falcons don't win on Sunday, we're certainly in trouble. I also see from Twitch here, user in00206 says, I was so disappointed to see Publix put in their self-checkout lines. They held out for years longer than other stores. Yeah, it sucks. I hate to be the hater of self-checkouts, but I'm just being honest with you. I have been saying this on my Nightcap. I was saying this on my main show, the Von Hessler Doctrine, where I'm part of a cast on that show for years. I just don't like it. And it's because I am certainly somebody, I'm an extrovert, number one, so I like to be around people, and I like to make people's days better. And so if given the choice, I would much rather go and try to at least talk to somebody and be nice to them than sit through a self-checkout line where it's just soulless and boring. And in my opinion, you don't get the coupons that you need either. So I feel like there's a saving mechanism behind it as well. So again, there's a lot of reasons why I think self-checkout has failed. And I do feel like it's power to the people. The people are rebelling against the corporations for thinking they could save money and get rid of jobs, when in reality now, as we found out from that study or the survey I brought up earlier, they're losing millions of dollars. Shocker, losing millions of dollars. People are just taking things left and right from the self-checkout line. A couple more stories I wanted to get to you guys. So again, normally I have the parameters of radio where I have to take breaks. So this is fun. We've already gone over 20 minutes, and I love doing this with you folks. So a couple of things that happened this week on WSB on the Von Hessler Doctrine that I wanted to bring up. Number one, I mentioned on the show that I had never seen Smokey and the Bandit, and people were outraged. I got several open mics from the WSB radio app regarding that. Check this out.
Hey, my name's Eric. I'm from Stone Mountain, Georgia. Tell Jared that basically a lot of the scenes were filmed in Stone Mountain, Georgia, Redan area. It's a football game, Daddy. That was the Redan Red Raiders. Thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate
you with your open mic there. And again, it's not that I haven't wanted to see Smokey and the Bandit. I just don't know if it's regarded as a cinematic masterpiece. But of course, people had things to say to me.
Jared, I hate to be, I can't believe you haven't seen that movie, guy, but you've seen Deliverance, right?
I sure have.
It's a book, too. You can read it. 'Cause you're from Georgia.
Absolutely, I am.
It'd be like being from California and not seeing like Pulp Fiction or Big Lebowski.
Okay, I get it. People are hating on me. Just because I am from the state of Georgia and I have not seen Smokey and the Bandit does not make me a bad person. And you'll be happy to know that I have added it to my list of movies that I need to see. And it's just, I feel like for a movie that came out in 1973, if you allow me to defend myself, sir, there have been, I had heard, obviously, lines from Deliverance, right? Deliverance, you have the, you're going to squeal like a pig, boy. Like that. There's that line that certainly gets you curious enough. The fact that it's filmed up in Toccoa, Georgia, what was certainly a reason for me to watch that movie. Now, for Smokey and the Bandit, like I did, number one, I didn't even know it was filmed in Georgia until earlier this week. And the number two, I don't think that there's a lot of memories from it or a lot of things that have carried over the years. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll love it. But I am here to tell you that it is on my list of movies to watch. And I will do a What's Jared Watching next week because I have to catch everybody up on. I finished Wednesday. I promised I would tell people about the ending of Summer I Turned Pretty, but even though that's like 2 weeks ago, who knows if I even get to that or not. So I will do that segment on next week's Nightcap and give a full recap of Smokey and the Bandit. All right, I wanted to get to a couple more things that happened here. Number one, sticking with the station for a second. Last night, I had a wonderful time at the Punchline Comedy Club up in Buckhead. Our radio station WSB does a carathon event does an annual carathon every year. We raised over $2 million this past year because of generous listeners to our station, to WSB Radio, and they're just amazingly gracious to give us that kind of money. And we offer incentive items as hosts of the station. And for the first time ever, we offered a comedy night last night. And it was so cool to see because Jeff Foxworthy was the headliner of the entire event, and he just absolutely crushed it, in typical Jeff Foxworthy kind of fashion. He did a great job last night. But where I was super impressed is we decided to bring in our own talent to speak as well during the event. So we had my main host on the Von Hessler Doctrine, Eric Von Hessler, did a great job during his commentary. It was more of a story, but he certainly did some stand-up and had some punchlines in there. Dave Baker, who is also on our station, did a great job, and so did Mark Aram. And for those that have never donated to the Carathon, that is worth it there. Just seeing whether or not your favorite host is going to fall apart or not and collapse on stage and just completely bomb in front of a whole room of 250 plus people. That was worth it to me there. And again, Foxworthy, for him to donate his time to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, just a magical thing to watch and a magical thing to see. And we had so much fun out there. It was cool to see that Eric Von Hessler, who had a history in stand-up way back in the day, was still able to. He even had kind of like the little mic wobble going back and forth where he was kind of swaying with the mic back and forth while telling his story about being the worst comic of the 80s. So as somebody getting the chance to witness him do stand-up comedy for the first time, I've worked with a guy for over 10 years. It was cool to see, and I highly recommend if you get the chance to donate for it next year, you should absolutely do that because there are so many great events that we do for 95.5 WSB, and these incentive items for the Carathon are just amazing. All right, I wanted to get to this last story here because I've been trying to not be super political on this stuff lately, but I just get very annoyed with this story because I see that ex-FBI Director James Comey was indicted on 2 charges as Trump is pushing to prosecute his political enemies. Now, on one hand, I can understand why Trump is frustrated with his political enemies, right? I mean, through the last, let's say 8 years, really, if you go back to Trump 1.0, he has had people countlessly going after him left and right all the time, going after him, trying to find any way to stop him, trying to throw him in jail, trying to think about it here in Georgia with what happened with Fonnie Willis. I mean, it was find me 10,000 votes. And, then it turned into this whole thing. It was completely overblown. And in my opinion, a lot of the Democrats and the left way overplayed their hands. But what I don't like about what's happening now with the president is now he's on his revenge tour. He's going out there and he's saying that, I'm going to go after people no matter, especially people that went after me in Trump 1.0 or went after me during Biden's tenure. And I just feel like for him, being the president now, like this is the time to cool things off, in my opinion. I get it. You're upset. You're bothered by what happened. And the American people responded to people to the left being ridiculous about this by going after him senselessly all the time, going after him in New York, going after him here in Georgia, going after him all over the place. My whole thing is it's okay to let go of this stuff. Let people decide at the ballot box whether or not they agree with the policies of the Democrats or the Republicans, or maybe they vote third party. That's what I did the last election. I voted third party because I was so annoyed with both directions of both parties now. So when I hear him saying that now he's like just going to go after James Comey, and I don't like James Comey, I think that he's an egotistical maniac. I'm not the biggest fan of James Comey. But what needs to happen here in this country is we need to learn how to cool things down here a little bit. Understand, you won your second term, and let's try to lead by example here. And I promise you to everybody out there, the American people will respond, and they will go to the ballot box and vote with what they think is best for them. I mean, I'm looking at data from New Jersey now. New Jersey, which has typically been a blue state for the longest time, is now starting to trend red. It might vote red in the midterms coming up in the next election. Now, again, it's very early. We got a long way to go until these elections. But what needs to happen is, and neither side is doing this, is you have to be able to lead by example. And for James Comey, he's using this as an opportunity to get people to feel sorry for him. I grabbed a little audio of an Instagram video that he put out earlier today.
Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant. And she's right. But I'm not afraid. And I hope you're not either.
Oh, I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either. Okay, that commentary at the end, he is completely digging for attention there. And here he is again.
My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
Yeah, let's have a trial and keep the faith. Now, I don't think there's any chance they're going to be able to indict or I guess convict rather James Comey of anything. But what I would say for both sides here is learn your lesson from this. Learn your lesson. People are going to respond to what makes them feel the best. How do you bring grocery prices down? How do you get rid of the self-checkout? How do you make reasonable changes in people's life and not worry about your political enemies? But, these are all egotistical people that are involved in politics. And by the way, there's plenty of them on the left too. But Trump certainly has his egotistical side as well. So I just wish that there was somebody out there that would understand, hey, it's time for things to cool down a little bit. It's time for us to be adults, and let's run this country the correct way. I appreciate you guys so much for hanging out with me here on this special edition of The Nightcap with Jared Yamamoto. I don't do these very often, but if there is another 7:30 kick for the Georgia Bulldogs later on this year, perhaps I'll do this again, depending on your reaction. Hopefully you guys liked it as well. I appreciate everybody interacting on my Instagram, my Facebook, my YouTube, and all the different places. I'm going to put this up on my TikTok later, so that way you can consume it as well. So if you have not given me a follow and you're watching this for the first time, I am Jared Yamamoto, and I'm a radio guy out of Atlanta, Georgia. My show, The Nightcap with Jared Yamamoto, is on every Saturday from 11 to midnight, and I do a video series called Solo Moto every Tuesday at 2, and you can get that on all of my different social feeds. I feel like I can't end my nightcap the way I normally do because it's not like you're going out for the night anymore. You're about to start your day out there. So no matter what you're doing at this very time, maybe you're listening back to this as a podcast, watching this back later, I want you to do two things. Be safe out there and don't do anything I wouldn't do. See you next time.